Thank you. Thank you, Ken, and good afternoon to all of you. All right. So we are here to talk about fall prevention. And fall prevention is such a huge passion of mine. It hits close to home. My mom fell twice last year. And in both cases, she was wearing a poor choice of footwear, and she was in a hurry. Those are some of the things we're going to talk about today on reducing your risk of falling. But really, before we get started, I want to ask the audience, how do you define a fall? What do you think?
You lose your balance.
Lose your balance. What else?
Usually I can end up on the ground.
Ending up on the ground. Tripping.
Tripping.
Yes, tripping. Anybody else? Okay. So I have a definition of a fall, and I think this will hit home for us. A fall is any time that you find yourself on a lower surface and it was not your plan to be there. How does that sound? That sums it up pretty well, for sure. So now that we know what a fall is, we want to think about, how do falls occur? Do they just happen? Are they from situations beyond our control? Or do we have some control over them? I'm going to take a look here on the next few slides on some stories about falling. And I want you to think about these situations, and maybe they hit close to you, home to you as well, or you know somebody to whom these have occurred. So the first one, on her way to answer the door, Susan did not notice her golden retriever lying on the floor. Before she knew it, Susan tripped over the dog, and unable to keep her balance, she fell to the floor. That can happen. Another story. When Don woke up one morning, he had to go to the bathroom. Unfortunately, he got up too quickly and did not give himself time to adjust to a standing position. He became dizzy, and he fell as he stepped away from the bed. I hear that a lot. I really do. Another story. Lucy was straightening up her living room and placing trash in the wastebasket in the kitchen. On her way back into the living room, Lucy caught her foot on a throw rug. She lost her balance and fell. One more story. Maybe. Come on, clicker. There we go. One misty day, Jack was on the golf course with friends. Walking off the green on a slope, Jack lost his footing and fell down the hill. Maybe a little bit of slippery surface going on there. That can lead up to a fall. So these are just a few examples of how falls happen. I hear stories all the time about different situations, but some of those may happen more frequently than not. Today, as we take a look at fall prevention, we're going to look at the facts about falling. We're going to review the myths of older adult falls. We're going to talk about how to know what your personal fall risk factors are and then how to reduce them. We're going to talk about fall-proofing your environment, so your surroundings at home and outside your home. And then at the end, we're going to talk about the proper and safe way to get up from a fall if a fall occurs. So let's talk about the facts, some of the facts and statistics about falling. It has been well known for many years, and this statistic hasn't changed too much, that 1 in 3 adults over the age of 65 falls every year. And here's another interesting part about that, is less than half of those who fall talk to their doctor about it. That can be a real concern. We'll talk more about why that's a concern. Falling can impact our quality of life. People who fall, about 20 to 30% suffer moderate to severe injuries from the fall. That could include traumatic brain injuries, lacerations on parts of their body, hip fractures too. In fact, falling is the biggest reason for hip fractures in our country. Many times those injuries that are sustained from a fall make it very difficult to live independently. And when that happens, that affects our quality of life, for sure. Falls are also very expensive. And this research came from something just released in August, the National Falls Prevention Action Plan. So it's the latest information. So as of 2013, the total direct medical cost of falls and the injuries that are sustained for people 65 and older is $34 billion. And on average, when a person is hospitalized for a fall injury, just the average cost, $35,000. So very expensive. And then unfortunately, falls can be fatal. Many, many thousands of adults each year die from unintended fall injuries. So it is very, very important to prevent falls as much as you can. How many of you have heard of the term fear of falling as an actual term? Absolutely. We know that many people who either fall or maybe they don't fall, they start to develop a fear of falling. And unfortunately, that fear tends to limit their activities. So as they become more inactive, their muscles weaken, they become more frail, and then when they have to move, they end up having a higher risk of falling. So the fear of falling is very, very important to address. And we want to think about what are some things that we can do to build up our confidence and reduce even the fear of falling. Absolutely. Strength is a big one. So we've talked a lot about some bad news. You know, the falls are widespread, they're costly, they can be fatal. And yes, they are a common problem, as we've seen as we get older, but here is the good news. Many falls are preventable. That's what we are here to find out more about and take that message out. In your handouts, you have a sheet that looks like this from the National Council on Aging. And it says, Debunking the Myths of Older Adult Falls. And I just really briefly want to go through this list because there's some very important things on there that we really need to focus on. Myth number 1, falling happens to other people, not to me. If only that were the case, right? We already saw how widespread falling can be. 1 in 3 adults over the age of 65, that increases to 1 in 2 adults after the age 80. So it can happen. Myth number 2, falling is something normal that happens as you get older. Well, we already addressed that when we said many falls can be prevented. So it doesn't just have to happen as you get older. Myth number 3, if I limit my activity, I'm not going to fall. It's definitely the opposite of that because, as we mentioned, if you feel like the best way to prevent falls is just to stay at home and limit your activity, there's going to be problems that come with that. As you continue to be active, you will be able to stay independent. And besides, just staying at home isn't good for our emotional health either. Social activities are very, very important. Myth number 4, as long as I stay at home, I can avoid falling. In actuality, Over half of the falls that happen to people happen where? At home. At home. And I can attest to that to people that I sit down with one-on-one. And so many of them happen inside their home or maybe just outside in their yard. Myth number 5, muscle strength and flexibility cannot be regained. It is true that we tend to lose our muscle mass as we get older. However, it is never too late to increase your strength, increase your muscles, and improve your balance to help with fall prevention. It is never too late. So even if you have been very inactive lately, if you start today becoming active, you can help your body to prevent falling. Myth number 6, taking medication doesn't increase my risk of falling. Actually, it can. It can. We're going to talk more about that in a later slide. But the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says that if a person takes 4 or more medications, no matter what they are, that right then and there increases the risk of falling. We'll talk more about that. Myth number 7, I don't need to get my vision checked every year. Oh, yes, you do. Our visual input is a big thing to help with our balance. We need to have good vision, and maybe we need glasses, maybe we need a new prescription. It is so important, and again, we'll address that a little bit more, but we need to check our eyes every year. Myth number 8. I was just talking to a gal today about this. Using a walker or cane will make me more dependent. And as much as she didn't want to admit it, using her walker at home or her cane when she went out actually increased her independence because she was able to do more in a safe way. So that is truly a myth. Those kind of assistive devices like walkers and canes can be very, very important and helpful to stay mobile. So definitely a myth. A couple more here real quick. Myth number 9, I don't need to talk to my family members or my healthcare provider if I'm concerned about my risk of falling. I don't want to alarm them, and I want to keep my independence. And I want to tell you that that's a big fear of people when they fall and they don't tell their doctor about it because they're afraid that their doctor is going to do something to limit their independence. And in reality, it's just the opposite. So important to talk to your healthcare provider and your family members as well. Myth number 10, I don't need to talk to my parent, spouse, or other older adult if I'm concerned about their risk of falling. It will hurt their feelings, and it's really none of my business. I feel like if you care about someone in a gentle, kind, but firm way, bringing it up can save their life and save their independence. So truly, again, it is a myth because there are things that we can help others do to reduce their risk of falling. I want to talk about some common risk factors that can lead to a fall. And some of these we've mentioned here just already. Having a previous fall increases your risk of another one. We also addressed and we talked a little bit about the fear of falling. And again, maybe you haven't fallen yet, but you have a real fear of falling, leading to that inactivity, weakness in your muscles, and an increased risk of fall. Balance and gait problems. Those can usually be addressed by a physical therapist that your healthcare provider can recommend. Muscle weakness, doing strength exercises. We'll talk more about that. Poor vision and hearing can affect your risk of falling. Postural hypotension is huge. That's where you change positions and you have a drop in your blood pressure, leading to lightheadedness, dizziness, and sometimes a fall. Chronic conditions can increase your risk of falling. Maybe it's arthritis or osteoporosis or diabetes. maybe Parkinson's. There's many, many chronic health conditions that can increase your risk of falling. Medications, we already mentioned that slightly. There are certain groups of medication that definitely increase your risk as well. And then your environment. What your surroundings are can be a risk for falls. Now, we looked at the risk factors. Let's talk a little bit about how do we bring that risk down. So some of the ideas that are listed here, we're going to go into more detail about them. Getting active, working on your strength and your balance with exercise. That's a big one that everyone can do something about. Reviewing your medications with your doctor or pharmacist. Checking your vision and hearing. Taking care of your feet. Checking your blood pressure on a regular basis. Eating a variety of foods and making sure you're drinking plenty of water. And keeping your home and surroundings safe. So let's dive in a little bit deeper on these areas. Definitely our bodies were designed very well to move. And when we stop moving, that lack of activity leads to muscle weakness and again increases our risk of falling. So regular exercise can help improve your balance and coordination. It can help keep your muscles and your bones strong, help keep you more flexible, which can help with posture, which can help with balance. It all kind of leads together. It can also boost up your energy levels. When you feel so tired that you don't feel like doing anything, you're at more risk for falling too. So a lot of benefits to exercise. When you start an exercise program, it's always a good idea if you have a medical or orthopedic condition, just get your doctor's blessing before starting. If you have any signs and symptoms of overexertion when you exercise, be sure and stop and talk to your healthcare provider. Walking is one of the best things you can do if you don't do anything else. If you've been really inactive and you start walking 5 minutes a day, excellent. Start there and gradually increase your time. That's a great place to start. Now, I will mention that people who have complications, maybe from diabetes like peripheral neuropathy, where they don't have really good sensation in their feet, walking could be a risk because it affects their balance. That may not be a good choice for them. Maybe getting on a stationary bicycle or water walking in the pool. But walking for many of us is a very, very beneficial exercise because guess what? It takes balance for me to walk. So we're working on our balance as well. Strength exercises, so very important as well. You can use hand weights. You can use cans of food. You can use water bottles for resistance bands, your own body weight. Anything that you use resistance with can help increase the strength of your muscles and bones. So very important, especially thinking about our legs and our trunk area. Those are very vital areas to have strong muscles in. And we'll get to one of the handouts here, but some balance exercises that you can do on your own could be when you're at the kitchen sink or maybe in a checkout line at the grocery store, you have a place to hold on. Just practice standing on one foot. Switch to the other side. Those simple things that you can build into your daily routine can help your balance. I've started to get in the habit of standing on one foot when I brush my teeth. It's easy to do. Just practice. Tai Chi is another very beneficial form of activity that research has actually been shown to help improve your balance. So Tai Chi exercises. And then stretching out after the end of your workout, when your muscles are already warm, is a great way to improve your flexibility. Now, any of you who have been to my classes before where I talk about exercise, you probably already have this sheet because it's one of my favorite ones to talk about. One of your handouts looks like this, and this is called the chair rise exercise. This is from a toolkit provided by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. It is one of the biggest fall prevention exercises recommended out there. And it's easy, we do it all the time, right? Think about during the day, what brings us up and down from a seated position? Nobody ever mentions that first, but you are so right. Toilets. Absolutely. We want to have strong muscles so we can get up and down from the toilet independently, right? Absolutely. What else?
Chairs.
From chairs, but where would we get up and down from a chair from? Dinner table. You bet. Anybody else? From a seated to a standing position. Sofa. When you're at your computer.
In and out of a car.
In and out of a car. Absolutely. So this exercise, as we practice it on a regular basis, keeps our legs strong, and we can do those activities and stay independent. So, as an example, just happen to have a chair here. Maybe you start out and you need to use your hands to help push you up. And that's okay. Because as your leg muscles get stronger, you're going to eventually just need one hand. And eventually, you're going to be able to do it with no hands. So the more that you can work on this simple exercise, you are strengthening the muscles you need for everyday activities. So one of the best exercises you can do, and all you need is a sturdy chair. Medication review. As we get older, sometimes the way medications work in our body starts to change. Some medications may become less effective and we need higher doses. Or if we change medications, we may have some side effects that we haven't had before. So making sure that you have your medication list reviewed by a doctor or pharmacist on a yearly basis is one way to reduce your risk of falling. And I mentioned before that your risk increases if you take 4 or more medications. That means whether it's over the counter or prescription. It increases your risk. Be sure, especially if you're starting a new medication, or if your current medication starts to give you these side effects, let your doctor know. And that includes feeling drowsy, having confusion, being unsteady when you get up, or lightheadedness or dizziness. Be sure that you let your doctor know, because side effects from medication, especially certain categories of medications, can be very much a fall risk. So talk to your doctor about that. And our eyes. Our body relies on basically 3 input sources to help us maintain balance. Our sensors on our feet, and that includes our skin, our muscles and everything, our inner ear, which is also called the vestibular system, and our vision. When our vision starts to decline, it can increase our risk of falling. So we want to be sure that you have a vision exam yearly. Talk to your doctor if your vision changes in between your checkups. Some other things to keep in mind. Well, this sounds really pretty much common sense, but I can tell you my glasses aren't always clean. Keep your glasses clean to help improve your vision. If you use reading glasses or sometimes multifocal lenses, make sure you remove them before you get up and walk, especially if you're going up and down stairs as well. Another suggestion would be if you are wearing sunglasses and you come inside from a bright place, maybe to a more dimly lit place, give your time for your eyes to adjust to the change. Your pupil size will change. Give yourself just a little bit of time before you make more movement. Some of the most common conditions that can affect our eyesight happen as we get older, and that could be cataracts or macular degeneration, glaucoma, maybe diabetic retinopathy. So there's a lot of things that can affect our vision, and it's so important to keep your eyes healthy as possible. And our ears. Do we really think about our sense of hearing so important for fall risk reduction? Maybe not always, but our sense of hearing gives us insight to our surroundings. It provides awareness to us so that if I don't hear that bicycle bell from somebody who's biking up the path behind me and all of a sudden they go whizzing by, startled, right? Maybe off balance, maybe a fall. So hearing is very, very important to overall fall risk reduction. Have a hearing exam on a regular basis. If you need a hearing device, make sure it's fitting properly, that you have batteries that are new that you can replace as necessary. Very, very important. And then feet and footwear. How many of you can honestly say that your feet are the same size as they were when you were 16?
Oh, wow.
Same size and shape? Not me, not me. We get bunions, right? Our feet kind of spread. I mean, we have changes in our feet. And the thing is that those changes in our feet can affect how we balance ourselves and how we walk. So feet are very important. Making sure that you have proper footwear can also help reduce your risk of falling. It is recommended that you wear shoes inside and outside, that you don't walk around in poorly fitting slippers or in just socks. You know, we have a tendency to do that sometimes, don't we? But that is a thing that we have power to change to reduce our risk of falling. Make sure that you talk to your doctor if you notice some changes in your feet, such as pain, increased pain, maybe numbness or swelling. Be sure and let your doctor know. Wear comfortable, low-heeled, supportive shoes. And again, wear them inside and outside for the best possible result. Make sure they have non-slip soles on them as well. And again, avoid poorly fitting slippers and walking around in just your socks. And I mentioned to you my mom fell twice last year. She had very poorly fitting shoes on, at both the same shoe, both times she fell. Finally, after that second fall, she walked up to me and handed them to me. Said, "I'm done with them." So they're burned now, but very important, proper footwear. And our blood pressure. We talked really brief. Yes.
What about barefoot?
Barefoot, if you have diabetic peripheral neuropathy, you should never go barefoot because you increase the risk of an injury to your foot, and an injury can lead to an infection.
Just in the house?
In the house or outside. Better to wear shoes inside and out. We mentioned postural hypotension, and again, that is when you change positions and your blood pressure drops. And most of the time we have some symptoms that go along with that. when those changes in the blood pressure occurs. The symptoms could be the lightheadedness or dizziness, feeling unsteady, maybe blurry vision even. I mean, there's a lot of different things that could occur. This could be maybe a side effect of a blood pressure medication that you're being treated with, which is why it's so important to let your doctor know. If you go from a sitting to a standing or a laying down to a sitting to a standing, and you notice those symptoms, weakness, fatigue, maybe even nausea, be sure and let your doctor know. Because maybe there needs to be some adjustment in the medication or some changes there. If you do have this condition, change positions how? Slowly. In fact, if you're lying in bed and you're ready to get up in the morning, don't just hop out of bed and go your way. Sit on the side of your bed for a little bit. Maybe do some ankle pumps with your toes, moving them up and down on the side. Just prepare your body. Let your body have time to adjust to that change in position. Changing position slowly. Make sure you have something to hold on to when you do stand up. Maybe it is a cane or a walker or a supportive surface that you can trust that it's not going to move. Make sure you have something secure. Do not walk if you feel dizzy. If you do change positions and you've sat for a while and it's just not going away, it's really not safe to get up and go walk. That increases your risk of falling. Avoid taking very hot baths or showers. Sometimes that can cause those symptoms as well. And make sure you're drinking enough water. Sometimes when we get into a partially dehydrated state, that can impact our blood pressure and it can go down. And we can have that lightheadedness and dizziness and confusion and feeling really tired. All of those symptoms, please let your doctor know if you have them. Food and drink. We want to make sure that you eat a variety of nutritious foods, that you're nourishing your bodies with the right amounts of fat and protein and carbohydrates for an overall healthy body. And it can help with fall prevention. Limit the intake of alcohol, which can affect balance. Probably don't need to say more than that. Sometimes you may need to have food supplements recommended by your doctor or a dietitian if you need more calories to take in to prevent weakness and feeling tired. That's important as well. Vitamin D. How many of you take a vitamin D supplement? Everybody in the room. All right, that's good. Vitamin D has been studied in research, and this actually comes right from the American Geriatric Society statement, their consensus statement from back in 2013. It says that low levels of vitamin D have been associated with balance problems, muscle weakness, and an increased risk of falling. When we get that vitamin D replaced via supplements or other sources, fewer falls have been noted, which is great. That's good. So how do we get vitamin D? We all take supplements. Skin exposure to sunlight. I have even heard recommendations that go so far to say, spend about 15 minutes a day in non-protected sun exposure. And non-protected means no sunscreen outside. Who doesn't like that recommendation? The doctors, the dermatologists. They don't like that. So they're going to be pushing more for the supplements and diet sources of vitamin D. So make sure that you talk to your doctor before you go spend extra time in the sunlight without protection. Sources of vitamin D from our foods could include milk, some cereals are fortified with it, orange juice could happen to be fortified just looking at the cartons. Yes.
How much vitamin D should we have?
That is going to be determined by your doctor or a registered dietitian. There are certain recommendations out there. Because vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, you can overdo it. So there are some upper limits. Talk to your doctor or dietitian. All right, so now we have talked about a lot of personal risk factors, and now we're going to move into environmental risk factors. And as we go through the next few slides, I want you to imagine yourself going room to room along with this slide and just taking a virtual walk through your house and thinking about these things as we go through them. Do they apply to me? And can I make some changes? So the first area in your home that we want to consider are your floors. When you walk through a room, do you have to walk around furniture or other objects or clutter? If so, maybe creating a clearer path could prevent tripping and falling. Do you have throw rugs on the floor? I think that's probably been one of the things that has been out there a lot, is to throw those throw rugs away. If you do, however, choose to have them, make sure that they have some kind of non-slip backing so that they don't create that tripping hazard. Are there other kinds of objects on your floor? Making sure you pick up those things, again, to create clear paths through your home, reducing the risk of falls. And then thinking about, do you have any cords that get in your way? Maybe television cords or lamp cords. We used to have the telephone cords, but now it's all cordless. But any kind of cords that could get in your way. Maybe coil them up, tape them, push them off to the side so you reduce the risk of falling. Stairs and steps, and I know that there's not a whole lot of steps in Arizona. Where I came from in Kansas, about everybody had a basement. Why did we have basements?
Tornadoes.
To hide from the tornadoes, absolutely. But out here, not as much. But there are some things to consider if you do have stairs or steps in your home. And that is, do you have those objects that tend to clutter up the stairs? Easy fix, keep those stairways nice and clean. Do you have some broken or uneven steps? Make sure you have them repaired. Are you missing a light over your stairway? You want to make sure that you have a good source of light at the top of the stairs as well as the bottom of the stairs for better vision. And as well, light switches, again, top and bottom. Change the light bulb if it burns out. Carpet, if you have carpet on your stairs, is it loose or torn? Make sure you have it repaired to avoid tripping on it. And handrails. Having handrails on both sides of the stairs is the best way to help prevent falling. I'll never forget, there was a gentleman in my class last year who said he was in an unfamiliar place and he was going, I think it was like a friend or relative's house that he hadn't been in before. He was going down into their basement. Not only was it not very well lit, but one handrail was longer than the other on the stairs going down. Did he anticipate that? Not at all. So as he was, like he should, holding on, going downstairs, all of a sudden this drops off. He didn't know he fell. So And I think that brings up to making sure if you are in an unfamiliar place that you take extra caution. Okay, and the kitchen. Do you constantly have to get on your tippy toes and reach for these things that you use often in your kitchen? If so, one of the easiest ideas is have somebody help you move them down to a more user-friendly space, maybe on the top of your counters or a lower shelf. Is your step stool unsteady? If you must use a step stool, make sure you have one that has a handrail on it for security. And never use a chair as a step stool. Oh my, I knew someone a couple years ago, she did just that. She was in her kitchen using a chair to reach. Guess what happened? Fell, landed on her hip, didn't break it, but oh boy, the bruising that went on. Okay, that was me. So I will be honest, I have learned never use a chair as a step stool. Very, very risky. And our bathroom area. Bathrooms tend to get wet and slippery, definitely. So you want to take a look. Does your tub or shower have some kind of a non-stick, maybe mat in there, or those self-stick kind of surfaces that you can put down to avoid slipping? Make sure that you do. And then handrails become very helpful sometimes. Getting in and out of the shower, which of course a lot of slippery, wet surfaces there, having something to hold on to while you get in and out, very, very helpful to help avoid slipping and falling. And that could be not only around the tub area, but around the toilet as well, if needed. And our bedrooms. Let's think about our bedrooms. We all know nature calls during the night, doesn't it? Definitely. So there are times where we have to make a trip up out of our bed and into the bathroom. Do you have a path that is well lit going to the bathroom? I had a gentleman tell me a couple weeks ago he keeps a flashlight next to his bed so that he doesn't have to disturb his wife, but he can shine a light to make sure he has a bright path. Maybe it's night lights. Whatever you need to do, make sure you have it well lit, or the potential to turn on a lamp, maybe next to your bed. Because remember, we need that visual input, and when it's dark or dimly lit, that reduces our visual input and increases our risk of falling. And then household chores. Since we're talking about our homes, are there chores now that are too risky for you to do? Maybe yes, maybe no. Here's the thing. If you are physically able to do most of your housework, that is fantastic because that's physical activity. You are moving your body and you are staying healthy that way. But sometimes it comes down to asking for help, being assertive, asking for what you need. So if you do need some help with chores, make sure you ask versus put yourself at risk for falling. In fact, I like what that last bullet point says. Don't put pride before a fall. Literally and figuratively. Some other safety tips. If you do have maybe a step where you go into your home from your garage, consider painting it a contrasting color. My dad was here, it's been almost 8 years since we moved into our home, and he came with us and he was helping bring things into the house. We have one of those little steps. He just about tripped over it. He immediately got into the car, went to Home Depot, came back with a bright neon orange tape that he taped from one side to the other, and it's still there because it's a visual reminder, oh yeah, got to step up. So keep that in mind. Keep emergency numbers and your home address in large numbers by your phone, just for safety reasons. If we have an emergency at home, are we always thinking clearly? Our adrenaline kicks in. So having something there is very good reminder for us. Oh yeah, my address is. Sometimes we can't think of that when we're in an emergency situation. Put a phone near the floor in case you fall and can't get up. Or have your cell phone on your person when you're around at home. Another good idea. And then consider wearing one of those alarm devices that will contact emergency help if you do fall and you can't get up. And this is just a sample. I know you can find these at drugstores, Walgreens pharmacy, but you can order these to have, and sometimes they can be life-saving. So something to consider. Beware of pets. We heard earlier on in the stories that we were talking about tripping over the golden retriever. Well, dogs and pets, no matter how big or small, can easily get under our feet, right? And we are not always anticipating their movements, are we? Cats can leap off our laps and we may not even realize where they are. So being aware of pets, so very, very important. If you have a smaller pet, one of the recommendations is to attach a little tiny bell to their collar. So it makes you more aware of their presence. Something to think about. Be aware of pet toys. Your dogs don't pick up after themselves, do they? They leave pet toys all over the place, which we can easily trip over and fall. Whenever possible, if you're out walking your dog, make sure you find places that are even, sidewalks that are not uneven or broken, just to reduce your risk. And use 2 hands or a retractable leash when you're walking larger or more active dogs. One of my coworkers here at Sun Health a few years ago, she was out walking her dog. I forget what kind she has, but it's a rather large dog. She was holding on, and something spooked it, maybe a little bunny rabbit hopping by, and off he went. And of course, she wasn't prepared for that. She ended up falling and breaking her pelvis. So if you are walking large or active dogs, having a secure grip, having one of those retractable leashes can be very helpful. And know what triggers your pet's behavior. Try to, even though it may be hard to do, anticipate what sets them off. Is it a thunderstorm where we have lightning and thunder outside? Is it the doorbell? Startled pets may run into you, maybe run in front of you, cause you to trip. Or if somebody else is in your home who is not familiar with your pet, maybe the dog jumps on them and startles them and they fall. So be aware of your pet's behavior. Be aware of purses. I had somebody in a class last year said, you know what? Our purses can be fall risk. And if you think about it, ladies, when we go out to dinner or if we're out at church and we have our purses, sometimes we just set them right down on the floor, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
With our handles in plain, around us and all. If we get up to use the bathroom, could easily get entangled. I had somebody else in one of my classes bring this in. How many of you have seen this? This is such a neat thing. You can set it on a table, so maybe you're out to dinner, just hooks right on the side, and you can clip your purse on it, keeping it off the ground and the handles away from your area. So beware of purses too. outside your home. We talked about most falls happen either inside or outside your home. So be aware of sidewalks around your home that might be a little bit off, that could cause you to trip, and then other environmental surroundings. So make sure that you use that assistive device if needed when you're walking to feel steadier and more secure. And if you are in an unfamiliar location, use extra caution. If you are in a parking lot or a parking garage, you may not know where every curb is. So just be aware. Be very aware. And then use caution if you get off or on a bus, maybe a tour bus if you're on vacation, or crossing streets, using caution, getting up and down the curb. Take your what? Time. Do not rush. Hurrying puts you at an increased risk of falling. Think about your home environment again. If you are maybe sitting in your chair reading a book and your phone rings, what do you have a tendency to do? Run, go get your phone. But one of the tips that I've heard is, if you have family members who call, maybe let them know, let my phone ring a little bit longer because I'm not going to get up and hurry to it. So just something to keep in mind. Hurrying puts you at risk for falling. I made my mom swear that she is not going to hurry anymore. All right. So in the last few minutes, let's talk about how to get up from a fall. We have done our best to prevent falls, but unfortunately, the fall happens. If you find yourself falling forward and you think, oh, I better not put my hands out because I'll break my wrist, guess what? It's a safer thing to do it that way, because if you don't, it's going to hit your head. Maybe a traumatic brain injury. So we have that natural instinct, if we're falling forward, to brace ourselves with our hands or our wrists. And it's better to break a wrist than to have a risk of a brain injury. So if you do fall, you really want to kind of lay still and catch your bearings. Take some deep breaths in and out, because there is a shock that happens to our bodies when we fall. So just take some time, take some deep breaths. Then assess yourself from head to toe. Are you injured or not? If you're not injured, you can start thinking about how you're going to get up from a fall. Getting up too quickly or in the wrong way could make any injury that you might have even worse. So if you think that you are uninjured and you can safely get up without any help, rolling over to your side is the first step. Rest again as you have changed that position. Maybe take some more breaths. Slowly get up on your hands and knees. You want to look around your area, see if you can find a sturdy piece of furniture, a chair, maybe it's a sofa, something that's sturdy and not going to move, and you want to crawl yourself over there. When you get there, put your hands on the chair seat, and then you take one foot forward and have your knee bent. One knee is bent on the ground. From that position, you're going to slowly rise up. You're going to use your hands to help, and you're going to turn your body and sit in the chair. When you get to that point, you're going to need to rest again. Take some deep breaths in through your nose and out your mouth. Deep, relaxing breaths, because your body has had a traumatic event happen. If you are not able to get up, if you assess yourself and at that point you feel like, I'm going to be pretty badly hurt. Call out for help if you can. If you have your cell phone with you or a phone within reach, use it. This is a good time to have a plan really figured out in advance. And that might be having one of these alarm devices on. Or again, having your cell phone. If you are not able to get to a phone within reach, are you able to slide yourself maybe to a door or window where you could, again, call out for help? Use an object to make noise. If you have a cane nearby, bang it on something just to make noise. Draw attention to yourself. And if you can reach something that you can use for a pillow or a blanket, use it at that point to make yourself as comfortable as you can. If you can, every once in a while, try to move yourself around gently without pain. And remember, this was a tragic event. If you end up urinating, try to roll yourself away from the damp spot to prevent yourself from getting colder. And then, this is the most important thing. If you do fall, tell your doctor. Tell your doctor. So very important. In fact, the sooner you tell your doctor, the better, because you're going to have a better recall of what exactly happened, what led to the fall. So the sooner you tell your doctor, the better. Write it down. Write down the situation that happened if you can, and discuss it with your doctor. And here's the reason why it's so important. Maybe it was a medical issue that can be addressed. The doctor can help with that. Maybe another healthcare provider needs to be involved, like a physical therapist, because of maybe weak leg muscles. So whatever it is, knowing the cause can help you and your healthcare provider plan so that you don't have any future falls. So if you come away with nothing else, please know that if you do fall, please share that information with your doctor. And just a couple things I want to show you as we wind up here. I love seeing familiar faces, and I love seeing new faces here, and I just want to welcome you all. Our Center for Health and Wellbeing, our desire is to fill in the gap, if you will, between yourself and your doctor. Because we know that when you go to the doctor, do you have all day to talk to him? No, you have a very short amount of time. Trust me, your doctor cannot provide you the education that they want to. I have a couple best friends who are doctors, and they feel so frustrated that they can't spend the time with their patients who have diabetes or who have arthritis. So that's really why we exist. We teach pre-diabetes, we teach diabetes self-management, chronic disease self-management, and weight management, along with being able to see people individually for such things as health coaching or senior fitness testing or exercise consultation. Some of the things that I do. Tracy does medical nutrition therapy and works with people who have other individual nutrition needs. And then the last slide just talks about some other things that we offer. We do exercise classes. We turn this room into a gym, don't we? We sure do. So please feel free to check out our newsletter. We have some that come out every month and lets you know what's going on here. What community education classes like this one we have, as well as any kind of exercise classes as well. And there is a phone number to call if you have any more questions. But today, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about what we talked about with fall prevention.
Would you repeat when I find my pencil here?
Oh,
the
message that you gave us in the beginning about an open house or something?
Yes, absolutely. I'll do better than that. How about if I give you this? This has all the information there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And if you want to come, there's a phone number at the bottom you can register for.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And we have more of those over there. Would love to see all of you come by for that.
Thank you. Very good.
Thank you. And Millie.
I heard you say you have someone that helps with arthritis. What would that be?
Arthritis is something that I can talk to people about when I meet one-on-one with them for exercise consultations. I will also be teaching a community education class. I think it's in November, that's going to be talking about exercise and arthritis as well.
Nothing before.
Nothing before November. Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time that you took to learn about fall prevention. And if you have a chance to complete that event survey, you're welcome to just leave it over there on the table. And again, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Thank you.
For information about these services and more, please contact the Center for Health and Wellbeing today at 623-832-WELL. That's 623-832-9355. Or visit us online at sunhealthwellbeing.org.